Ladies and gentlemen, this is TVP World. You're watching another edition of Military Mind, bringing you news from the front lines. I'm your host, Benjamin Lee. Overnight, Russia once again targeted Ukraine's civilian infrastructure. According to the country's Air Force, Russian forces launched 96 drones across multiple regions. In the Kirovohrad region, critical infrastructure was damaged according to the Ukraine State Emergency Service. Fires broke out at several locations, but no casualties were reported. 5 settlements were left without electricity. Meanwhile, in the Kharkiv region, Russian troops shelled 8 towns and villages over the past day. Local authorities say 62 people were wounded in the attack. In the Donetsk region, 2 people were killed and 5 others wounded. On the front line in the Toretsk sector, Ukrainian soldiers were forced to retreat by boat from the pocket south of the Klibambiak reservoir. Only a few dozen defenders remain in the area after Russian forces cut off the last overland escape route. Ukrainian analysts report that Russian reconnaissance and sabotage groups have already begun infiltrating Konstantinivka. Ukrainian troops are bringing in reinforcements, fortifying the city's defenses, and working to prevent Russian units from gaining a foothold southeast of the city. Ukrainian units say they repelled a large-scale Russian mechanized assault around the Dobopilya salient. According to Ukrainian monitoring analysis, Russian forces captured 61 square kilometers of Ukrainian territory between October 6th and 12th, an average about 9 square kilometers per day. This marks the 5th consecutive week in which the pace of Russian territorial gains have remained relatively steady. At the same time, combat engagement along the front have risen by 15%. Now, turning to the Middle East. 7 of the 20 hostages said to be released by Hamas on Monday have returned to Israel, according to Reuters. The hostages had been held in captivity by the terrorist organization for more than 2 years. The release is part of a Gaza ceasefire agreement brokered by the United States. Families of 24 Israeli hostages are still waiting for the return of their bodies from Gaza. So far, Hamas has transferred 4 bodies to Israel, and according to Israeli authorities, some of those that remain may never be located. In exchange for the hostages, Israel has agreed to release nearly 2,000 Palestinian prisoners who are set to return home on Monday. Meanwhile, leaders from Egypt, Qatar, the United States, and Turkey signed a final ceasefire agreement for Gaza at the Peace Summit in Sharm el-Sheikh on October 13th. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu did not attend, citing the Simchat Torah holiday, which began that evening. Representatives of Hamas also did not take part in the summit. The Russian army is once again learning that even deep rear areas offer no guarantee of safety. In the Belgorod region, about 15 miles from the front line, a Russian soldier filmed a newly installed radio electronic suppression system mounted on his unit's truck. Now, in this video, shot by the soldier himself, the equipment appears freshly deployed. Antennas are up, the crew is demonstrating what they call the operation of the latest system. Well, what happened next? Take a look.
Сейчас поржем. Все, нет у нас больше рыба дорогого. Эй, тачка. А так все хорошо. Воюем. Помаленьку.
Ukrainian drone operators continue to strike effectively along the front line. Swarms of Kamikaze drones from the 3rd Army Corps are targeting Russian troop concentrations, forcing the occupiers to take cover in the buildings that they themselves have destroyed. But even shelter offers no protection. These strikes not only eliminate enemy personnel, they also demoralize Russian forces, showing the superiority of Ukrainian drone operations. Frontline sources say each Kamikaze drone sortie delivers a blow to the enemy's combat potential that cannot be ignored. On the front lines of the Sumy region, Ukrainian roads have become a battlefield. Burned out cars and destroyed equipment are the results of FPV drone strikes operating along fiber optic lines. The Russian army is trying to advance, but Ukrainian forces are turning their equipment into scrap metal. On the Ocharatino front, near the village of Volodymyrivka in the Donetsk region, soldiers of Ukraine's 82nd Separate Airborne Assault Brigade showcase exemplary defensive skills while repelling a large-scale mechanized assault by Russian forces. In an attempt to break through Ukrainian positions, the enemy launched more than 30 heavy armored vehicles into battle, including tanks, infantry fighting vehicles, and armored personnel carriers. The attacks came in wave after wave, but each attempt ended in further losses. Thanks to the coordinated efforts of paratroopers, UAV operators, and artillery units, Ukrainian forces destroyed or damaged 1 armored tractor, 3 tanks, and 16 enemy armored combat vehicles. In addition, 41 motorcycles and 2 light vehicles used to transport enemy manpower were also taken out. And with that footage, we conclude this edition of Military Mind. But for more news, update, and commentary, please stay tuned to TVP World.